Good morning once again and welcome back to New Day. It's time for the legal desk, and this morning we're talking about the rights of pregnant prisoners, women, of course, women. And I have with me Francis Xavier Kojososu Esquire, who's the managing partner of FX Law and Associates, and they are also human rights and public interest lawyers. And this morning he's going to educate us about the rights of pregnant prisoners. Now, Francis, before we get into it, I'm just watching that video there. Something jogged my memory. I heard the lady say that she was jailed because of a debt of 3,000 Ghana cedis.
Yeah.
3,000 Ghana cedis. Can someone be imprisoned for 3,000 Ghana cedis?
Not when it's just a debt. The law is very clear. Nobody's supposed to go to prison because of debt. Because debt arises out of a pure commercial transactions, and commercial transactions do not ground any criminal liability.
Right.
But it's just very sad. And I think I've heard it on several platforms.
These are some of the things, the injustices.
Our police services and some of the security services, including BNI sometimes, have turned themselves into debt collection agencies. And it's quite pathetic that sometimes instead of our courts also stamping the authority and saying that, look, this is not criminal and there is no need for us to criminally prosecute somebody, they end up, condoning them. And that's how come we have the case of this woman who is in prison for 3,000
So the police have no business chasing people for debt?
Honestly, police has no business. In fact, it's not part of their mandate. Debt collection is never part of police mandate. But, again, this is Ghana. Many things, are not going very well, especially when it comes to our criminal, jurisdiction. It's pathetic.
Okay, that was just by the way. Now let's get into our issue for this morning. We're talking about the rights of pregnant prisoners. Now, first of all, we all know that the basic thing that is taken away from you as a prisoner is your liberty, your freedom.
Absolutely.
So apart from that, every other right that you're supposed to have must exist. You must have all those other things.
Exactly.
But all you need to do is to take a trip down to our prisons and you realize that this is not the case.
Yeah. It is one of the most unfortunate, happenings in our prisons. I recall again the case of Francis Ejari, where Francis had to tell us stories about prison life. And
Francis is the gentleman who was in prison for 14 years and was just recently
when the food they eat, the kind of health facilities available to them, particularly when you are a remand prisoner. Well, thankfully,
when you say remand, that's when your case is still pending in court.
Exactly.
And you haven't been convicted.
Exactly. And we have a lot of those people, including pregnant women. There are many pregnant women who are also on remand, and I know of one. Well, I will not go into that specific case right now, but there are several of them who are also on remand, and a few others convicted like this very one. But what must be placed on record is that when you are either arrested or restricted or convicted, the only right that is taken away is your right to personal liberty. In fact, the law under those circumstances permits that your right would be taken away. But after that right has been taken away, your right to food, your right to good medical care, every other substantive right that you have, you are supposed to have that. So, for example, in the case of women, they are first women before they are pregnant women. When you take the Constitution, you look at Article 27 of the 1992 Constitution, and with permission, I would want to read, for our listeners, says that special care shall be accorded to mothers during a reasonable period before and after childbirth, and during those periods, working mothers shall be accorded paid leave. Article 27.2 says, facilities shall be provided for the care of children below school-going age to enable women who have the traditional care for children realize their full potential. When you go to 3, it says, women shall be guaranteed equal rights to training and promotion without any impediment from any person. What it means is that all these substantive rights are supposed to be available to every woman, including
What-
pregnant women, whether or not they are restricted.
Okay.
Whether or
Meaning
not
it
they are
must
restricted.
apply to pregnant prisoners as well.
Exactly. If you are pregnant and you are in prison, it doesn't take away your opportunity or your traditional role to take care of your children. So the prison will have to provide facilities that will enable those children to grow in a way that their lives would not be affected. Because when you look at the provisions on children in the Constitution and the Children's Act, the welfare principle is a key thing. Is the welfare of the child being catered for in those circumstances? If our prison authorities will not be able to provide the adequate facilities to take care of these children, then you have no business keeping them there.
Yeah.
You can't give us an excuse, well, because he's convicted. Yes, he's convicted. The law under those circumstances allows you to keep her. But then the law against is that you would have to
Provide her
with all those facilities.
Okay, now, Francis, you have paid many visits to our prisons. How does our prison system recognize the prisoner and her unborn baby?
Well, when the prisoner, first of all, once the child has been conceived, that child is protected by law. In fact, that is why if you attempt abortion, you can actually be charged, for attempting to abort the baby.
Is abortion legal?
No.
Okay, let's move on.
Yes. For attempting, but there can be legal abortion. There can be circumstances where the law would permit
Rape,
you.
incest.
In fact, there are others. There are circumstances, medical
but that's
grounds.
another topic.
Another topic for another day. But the fact is that once the baby is conceived, if you did anything, to affect the life of that baby, you can be held liable. In the same way, when a person is convicted or is restricted under the law, and the person is pregnant, both the woman and the baby in the womb need to be given adequate facilities for their well-being, i.e. the mother would need antenatal. She needs.
Are they given that in prison?
Well,
pregnant prisoners?
In fact, that would be a matter of fact that we need to find out. But I would dare say that they may be giving, because I've witnessed a couple of people who are given opportunities. They have internal prison. The fact is going to be whether or not those care is quality enough and is adequate, and that is a question. Mostly they are not. The food they eat, no. So the health care of pregnant women in prison generally is not the best.
Okay. Are they given any special treatment if somebody's convicted and they are pregnant and they arrive at the prison? Are they given any special treatment based on the fact that they are pregnant? Because, for instance, if somebody is sentenced to such and such amount of years with hard labor and she arrives and she's pregnant, is she still required to do that hard labor that she's been sentenced there for?
Well, the law says with hard labor, except that when you are in the prison wards, you see, the prison wardens also are human beings like us, and sometimes they are the people who have all the discretion to look at a particular condition of a person and say that, given your condition and under the law, and given the fact that your rights as well as the right of that unborn baby need to be protected, some are exempted from certain type of hazardous labor that could affect the health of the mother and the health of the child.
Okay. Will a person being pregnant kind of mitigate her sentence? Will a judge look at a person and say, okay, looking at your condition, we will mitigate your sentence?
Honestly, I am yet to see one of that. I haven't seen a judge minimize sentence just on the grounds of pregnancy. Indeed, the law hasn't provided anything, of the sort. The grounds are very clear. You are a first-time offender, or perhaps you pleaded guilty simpliciter, so you didn't allow to drag the court on before
waste
you were, waste the court's time, and suddenly you were found guilty. And maybe you are not, of course, first-time offender because you are not known to the court to have committed, such and such offenses. I mean, these are the grounds, and sometimes on purely medical grounds. But those medical, that, women advocates have actually said that pregnancy is not a medical condition. So it is not the case. Being pregnant doesn't put you in any disadvantageous position, health-wise.
Well, we've heard of cases where some women intentionally get pregnant, thinking that their sentence would be mitigated, or the courts would have sympathy on them.
But I mean, meaning that it is the women who have said that please don't have sympathy, on us because we are pregnant, because being pregnant is not a medical condition that need anyone's sympathy. So, and I think the court has treated it consistently like that. The court hasn't in any day just used pregnancy as a basis of mitigating people's sentence. In fact, I am yet to see one. If others know of it, in fact, I personally have not seen one like that. And I don't see it will be a basis for actually mitigating sentences, except that once you convict them, the law requires that you provide them with the adequate facilities that will take care of themselves medically, and that will take care of those babies. So my concern as a human rights lawyer is whether or not you are providing those facilities. You have a right to convict them for particular crimes that they've been found guilty of, but you have an obligation to provide them with those facilities. Okay. And if you don't provide them with those facilities, then we have an issue with the system.
What happens to babies born in prison? Do the mothers get to keep them with them there, or they can send them home to their families?
Those that I have observed.
Before you answer, let me give you a few statistics. I understand that currently there are 4 pregnant women at Nsawam. There's 7 in Kumasi, 2 in Sekondi, and 1 at Sunyani. For nursing mothers, there are 2 in Nsawam, 3 in Kumasi, 1 in Sunyani, and none in the Sekondi prison. And then the distribution of babies in the prisons are also 2 in Nsawam, 3 in Kumasi, and 1 at Sunyani. So meaning that some of the mothers are keeping their babies with them.
Exactly. In fact, that is how it's supposed to be. Like I said, the welfare principle. When it comes to dealing with children, the Children's Act has clearly stated that the paramount consideration should be whether or not the decision being taken would inure to the benefit of the child. So if keeping the child with the mother is what to promote the welfare of the child, and obviously, when you're a baby, you need that parental, that motherly care, breastfeeding and so on and so forth. Then the bigger question is, whilst the baby is with the mother in prison, is a prison authority having enough facilities that can actually cater for these children, whilst they take care of
like
the mothers?
Education? Do they go to school
Things
while
like
they're
that,
there?
And for me, that is a question.
Do they?
No, I haven't seen. Yeah, I haven't seen a daycare center for prison. Children with their mothers in prison.
But if they wanted to, they could send the kids home to their families.
Yes, I think that again, that would be the welfare principle. If I have to go to court and ask court that there's a particular child with a mother in prison, I would want the court to send the child to the family. I would say the welfare of the child. If it will be in the interest of the child to be in prison with the mother, the court would insist that the child should be with the mother. But the greater question is whether there will be facilities around to take care of this child.
Okay. Also, do some of the women bring, not pregnant women, I mean, just normal women, and then they are convicted? Can they bring their kids at home with them to prison? Maybe if she has a toddler at home, or even a baby, she just had a baby. Can she take her baby with her to prison? Honestly,
that is a fact I haven't yet, actually ascertained. I haven't seen one, and in fact, I am not sure she has that right to do that.
You cannot carry somebody else.
No. You
to
cannot.
Prison
Yeah,
with
you cannot carry someone else to prison with you. And I'm yet honestly to ascertain what then happened to nursing mothers who are convicted, whether they have the right to take their children with them. On the welfare principle, I would say they would have that right, except that they must be provided with other facilities to allow those children who are being nursed to have adequate, support whilst their mother nurses them until they get to an age where they can actually be taken away from their mothers. Because under the law, those children the mothers have a right to be with those children at that tender age. So when you are denying that of one right, you should be able to provide them with the facility to be able to realize the full potential of other rights.
Okay, now lastly, before we wrap up, Francis, Do you think that the system of suspended sentences would be helpful in such cases of pregnant prisoners?
Honestly, alternative sentencing has been something we human rights advocates have also called for. Alternative sentencing, because
Such as?
we have community work.
Which isn't very popular. I don't even think it's part of
we don't have it.
We don't have it.
We don't have it. It will require amendment of our laws, where you have community works. Some of these women can simply be sentenced to maybe cleaning Kolebu Teaching Hospital for the next 1 year. And you would have to clean maybe, a ward for 1 year. For the 6 months that you are keeping her in prison with a baby. I mean, she could just be, sent to some, and with some social welfare officers who will monitor, her, and she reporting to the police maybe once every week or something. And that should be okay, especially in the wake of our cry for congestions or the need for decongestion of our prisons. It is very important that we consider these alternative sentences so that, for such offenses, people will not be abandoned, in prison. Sometimes
it would be very good for our prisons as well, decongesting it and all that.
Yes, decongesting the prisons. So I think the alternative sentences is the way forward for these pregnant women who are sent, particularly when they are not first-degree felonies and they are just misdemeanors. These women should be allowed other alternative sentences than, putting them in prison.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time this morning. I've been talking to Francis Xavier Kojo-Sosu. This time I got it right. Yeah. Esquire. He's a managing partner at FX Law and Associates, and they are also human rights and public interest lawyers.